Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Gears Pro League, the final split number 4, day 1. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Toby Campbell. He's Welsh, by the way. I learned that during the major. And Toby, me and you, we've been talking off broadcast, on broadcast. We've been having a lot of good times in Gears and off Gears, but it's good to finally have you for the Gears Pro League. How you doing, brother?
Feels good, man. Honestly, it feels really, really good. And it's, I was just in awe. Honestly, with Rise's performance in the grand final of that major that we've all just witnessed. And it's great to be able to come up on the mic straight after and talk about that amongst a lot of the team roster changes and things as we go into this final split.
But more importantly, like you said, final split, Toby, you've been in Gears for such a long time. What does it mean to you that this is the final split and you're part of it first and foremost, but again, the final split before hopefully Gears 6?
Oh, damn. That's a huge question, isn't it? I mean, got to start off strong. It's insane. It's safe to say that I've been very nostalgic as of recent. I think it's been a while now since that huge announcement of Gears Esports coming to a conclusion, if you will. Maybe for now, maybe forever. Who knows? As a result, I have literally been wanting to stream more and commentate on my own channel. I've been going over old VODs. You and me have both been, looking at different VODs and wanting to cast and looking to improve our casting as well.
Yep. And it's all,
and it was, I mean, over time, I guess I'm going to need to try and get back into the swing of things to get back into the level of polish that you've got, Taylor. But all in good time, I guess. And to really save a long story short, it's a very I think emotional time for a lot of Gears fans, especially today, as it is, of course, the first Pro League show of this final split.
First day of the final split. Pretty impactful it is. And hey, we got to get chat caught up at least, right, Toby? Because Gears Pro League, it's been going on for some time, but maybe you're not familiar with how it all works. Well, let me get you up to speed. It's single round robin. Each team is going to play each other once, so you cannot get away from anybody. You got to play them once, which is, a good thing, at least in my opinion. Best of 5 series. Game mode order is control, execution, escalation, control, execution, and then Pro League standings will be used to seed for the summer major. And with this being the final split, I expect every single roster to really be playing at their fullest and best ability. And speaking of all the rosters, we have our top 10 teams. We saw Fury 1, Digital Slayers, Northern Forces qualify through relegation. Of course, your usual suspects, though, also going to be playing here. Not only players, but also organizations. Toby, what rosters stand out to you and what new additions are you looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, love the new organization stepping into Gears of War. We were just discussing the point it's been in, actually, in terms of the life cycle here in Gears Esports for Gears 5, and the continued support is absolutely amazing to see. Of course, there's some roster changes, though, which I'm sure we'll get into in great detail, but it's kind of across the board. You've got your usual teams like Rise, Pioneers, United, who haven't had any changes, but then you look at Rebel, you look at PK, of course, that all-important swap we'll get into later. Fury 1, of course, a really good pickup in the form of Toti. And then, of course, that Northern Forces roster is a very important one. Of course, that was formerly Defiance. And I'm really actually interested to see how they go on in the Pro League this split.
Yeah, absolutely. Northern Forces now playing with Rocky instead of Toti. Toti now on Fury 1. There's a lot of moving pieces, to say the least. Not for all rosters, but for some of the rosters anyways, which makes me super curious to see how this final split 4 is going to work itself out. And obviously, when it comes to Gears Pro League, Toby, the fans, they show up each and every day, each and every time. And whether it's for the gameplay or for the skins, we got your watch and win skins ready to go for you. And these are... let me be blunt, Toby. They're sexy. All right, just bottom line period. I like chess. These are called the Checkmate weapon sets. Boom shot, drop shot. You got little chess pieces on there. I like chess, but I'm not sounding intelligent here when I'm talking about chess. The only move that I know is opening is Dragon Variation of Sicilian. Anyways, you got the Checkmate skins, boom shot, drop shot. That's going to be your watch and win. They are nice. And Toby, you got your tabs open, baby. You're going to be earning them on the side. Hopefully you are, because I know you like your skins, Toby.
As soon as I'm off camera, my eyes will dart to a right-hand screen, and no one will know that I'm literally aggressively clicking on my mouse. I mean, those skins are aggressively, and hopefully it doesn't come into my mic, I mean, who knows? I mean, we'll have to check, I guess, soon during the break. But anyway, really... really nice skins, really nice skins, and I think they look even better in game. Is my estimation. I believe they're dynamic, right? They're not static, and so I think, yeah, definitely get your hands on them if you can.
Looking nice. Watch and win. Make sure you guys are earning live.gearsofwar.com. And let's get into it, Toby. Our matches for today, we've got several of them, and I'm loving every one of them, to be honest with you. Pittsburgh Knights, Fury 1, Costa Papel Rebel, a United Team K. So for me, super curious to watch Pittsburgh Knights Fury 1. Right off the rip, 5 p.m. time slot. And the reason why, PK, Toby, they get a big addition. Identivez comes back to Pittsburgh Knights. He's playing alongside his duo of Dezo. Obviously, Fearzly, Raver are going to be there. But Fury 1 with Toti is a big step up. Fury 1, one of the best rosters I saw play in relegation. They move forward. They are here, and I know they are going to be a team to fear. Now, as far as the other rosters go, or at least other matches go, Toby, what stands out to you?
Yeah, this was an interesting one. The second match in particular, we were talking before the broadcast, actually, in terms of predictions. What are we thinking, right? What are our initial thoughts when we look at these roster changes? And yes, Rebel, an amazing pickup in the form of Monkeys, of course. Formerly was Identivez spot, of course. He took. That's a swap with PK, and then the Cassidy Papel roster is an interesting one for sure. Not Claw, Toxic, Sulfuls, and Smokes. I mean, a very strong roster. And you, at first thought you might think, perhaps an underdog in that one, but you might be surprised tonight, of course, Taylor, because they have been a very, very good roster, and they've been, I think, slightly improving, right? They kind of finished middle of the pack, if you will, in the Pro League standings, but they've had some really good matches, and they're definitely not a team to snuff at.
Well, those are your 3 matches on broadcast. Of course, we have Side Station, Pioneers versus Digital Slayers, Rise versus Northern Forces. I swear, any roster with Kenny since he kind of, separated, retired, and then kind of came back, I swear he never catches a break. Now he's got to go first match, although it's Side Station, which might be a good thing considering how it goes. Rise, the defending champions, right? Winning the Spring Major. You were talking about their performance at the beginning, Toby, going against Northern Forces. Talk about a rude awakening and a rude start to your final split.
Yeah, I mean, nuts. When you really think about that, the roster changes that have come into fruition as well over time, and going into, that Northern Forces game as well. Northern Forces in general, remember, we were casting over them in the past major, right, when they were Defiant, and they were performing incredibly well. To see Kenny performing back at the top level, of course, formerly of Optic Gaming back in Gears 4, formerly of United. To see that roster, come through and do as well as they have, and then gone with a very perhaps upsetting roster change for many fans. When you had Toti previously, to lose Toti and then have Rocky come in. Yeah, Rocky's a really good player, don't get me wrong, but I'm so concerned that they've lost a really big player in the form of Toti, and I'm wondering if they can kind of keep to the same level of form that we saw in that major that, of course, we had the pleasure of casting over their game.
Yeah, Defiance are strong. They really were. They started to taper off, though, but relegation, they do make it through, but they definitely looked as if they needed to improve quite a bit. So, sure, we're going to have multiple times to talk about them as a roster in general, maybe even tomorrow, but let's get into our first matchup, Toby. This one I'm particularly invested in. Pittsburgh Knights, Fury 1. This is going to be a battle through and through. Without question, both Latin American teams, of course. You always know they're going to bring the best of the best when they play against each other, but Toby, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Pittsburgh Knights, Identivez, back on this roster.
Yeah, really cool to see, though, isn't it, for some old school fans of Gears Esports, to see Identivez back on the PK roster and kind of donning some of that yellow and gold color as well. Of course, he was formerly on Splice in Gears 4, and to see him back with former teammates, right, in the form of Dezonide, Raver, and of course Fearzly, a kind of a new player, addition to PK, if you will, with Identivez alongside him too. A really interesting combination. The question is he going to bring an improvement over Monkeys? Of course, Monkeys statistically the best player in many ways, sort of many Pro League splits. I'm really curious to see how Identivez kickstarts his campaign tonight here in the Pro League with this new roster.
Oh, I know he's happy. Honestly, I know he's loving being on Pittsburgh Knights, and I also know Toti is loving being on Fury 1. Fury 1's always been a talented roster, without question, and even making a big impact in Split 3. But I always said they needed a veteran leadership, or a veteran leader in general, on that roster to kind of hone in those young guns who were always mechanically sound, but they maybe not making the best plays when they needed to be made. made. But now with Toti there, Fury 1 has improved quite a bit. And not to mention, it's not just Toti, right? Jaled is also on this roster. You might have noticed that Last Move and Toxic are no longer here. Well, that's because Jaled and Toti are. Aimboot, Ventry, though, are the constants for Fury 1. Toby, when I say this, I mean it. This was the most talented and scary and all well-rounded team during relegation. And therefore, I think Fury 1, whether it be at the beginning of the split, I would love to see them at the end and see how much they improve. But I think they're going to be scary, not only in this series, but throughout Split 4 in its entirety.
Yeah, I think you could be right about that, and I'm not surprised when you kind of gave me your thoughts on Fury 1 in the relegation period, in terms of describing how positive they were. It's such a statement to say they were the most scary team. Just think about their competition there. You know, it's kind of like a Shark Tank, if you will. And it's kind of like deja vu actually, because I think the last time me and you commentated together before that major was during a previous relegation period, and look who came in during that one. It was Fury 1, and we were just blown away during that day of Gears gameplay from how they were playing. They were so composed. Their basics were nailed down. Question is, and I guess our biggest criticism during the major while we were commentating over them then is, do they have that spark? Do they have that ability to get to the next level? I mean, to have Toti come into the roster, what else do you want, right? And to have him as that, you know, that core leader as well, to kind of shape, mold, and kind of guide as well a lot of these individuals in terms of their individual players, you know, performances, and also as a team. So much potential now, and I'm excited for them, more excited than I have been for a while for this Fury 1 roster.
Yeah, without question. Like I said, I think this team, Fury 1, they are going to be one of the most standout teams. But I've said that before about rosters, and I have been proven very, very wrong. So I'm hoping this time around what I'm saying is going to stick. But I'm a big fan of Toti, love the guy, and I just wish him the most success. But Pittsburgh Knight's not going to be easy. But we have to hone in on two players, Toby. We have Identivez on one end, and we have Toti on the other. And I think this is a perfect starting point for our first head-to-head graphic.
Yeah, I love this. The two new players of the rosters, right? And there are also, of course, veterans in many ways. Identivez much more so. You know, I alluded to it earlier. Splice on Gears 4. He's always been the king of LATAM, if you will. I'm not sure if he's lost that crown just yet. Perhaps he's still the most famous at the very least, right? And in many ways, most well respected. In terms of the stats you see on the screen, Toti, you know, it speaks for himself. Himself there on the KDA, 2.09, huge, of course, and as well that damage per life, 1,587. At this level, it's massive. It might not seem like big numbers, but I assure you, folks, for those who are new to Gears Esports joining us here for this broadcast, that's huge. You know, it really goes to show how much of an influence these guys have, and that's kind of the defining characteristic for both these players going in today. Can they really shape these rosters into something different to what they were before? Or are they going to perhaps underperform in many ways? Are the team's going to kind of lose a little bit of chemistry there? Ooh. The dynamic shifts a little bit. You know, we spoke about that, kind of a con, if you will, of the grand standing of these two players, if you will, and the experience is that perhaps they shift the dynamic a little bit too much and put some players on edge, maybe. We'll have to wait and see how the ultimate dynamic plays out.
It's a valid point. And that's a scary point, too, because with it being the final split, it's like you make changes leading into it. There's not a guarantee it's going to work out, right? It could absolutely go south. It might not go the way you think it's going to go, at least in your head. In theory and on paper, it might look good, but execution-wise, it might not be that solid. So, Toby, that's a great point, but something these rosters probably took into account, and they're going to have to battle through without question if they want to be on top, especially come for the last major, the summer major. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of things, Toby. Let's start taking a look at least our pick and bans. And first, starting off with bans, we've got a wide selection. Fury 1, Pittsburgh Knights. What stands out to you?
Yeah, interesting one, actually. PK going for the ban on Clock Tower. We've talked about it, you know, for so long that PK are perhaps the best execution team in history on this game. And for them to kind of ban that one out, it kind of shows a little bit of concern, perhaps the strategy that Toti can produce on this new roster and around that snipe alley, but also perhaps a concern over the aggression over Fury 1 through that middle wall. In terms of Tomb Execution ban, Fury 1, that's a huge one, of course. PK have been a very, very strong team on this map, and it's one of their stronger execution maps of that as well, historically. So for them to remove that, it makes sense too.
Yeah, also Ritual for Pittsburgh Knights to get that out of the way makes sense because Fury 1 showed a great performance during relegation, so that was one of their stronger maps, and Ritual, Pittsburgh Knights will play it, but they'd rather play on Spire or another map if they can get it anyways. Got Regency, Ephyra, Training Grounds, District, and Checkout. Map 5 scary for obvious reasons. Pittsburgh Knights, fantastic on Checkout. We've always known them to be a deadly force there. That's why they obviously pick it. But we've also seen Toti in his famous Staying Alive play that Colin made. Hey, he knows how to play that map very well. In Fury 1, they're not going to be shy about butting heads with PK, but that's if we go the distance. Let's hone in on the first 3 matches.
Yeah, I love this. I think if we get to check out Execution, I think PK are the favorites for that one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely could be. Well, Toby, we have 2 great teams, right? And it's not an easy one, at least for me, prediction-wise. It took a while of contemplation to figure out who I wanted to go with, all right? Did I want to go PK? Did I want to go with Fury 1? And I thought about this long and hard because, like, do I want to bet against Toti this early on? I got to bet against Toti this early on. Even though I've been hyping up Fury 1, I think they're going to be the best team without question, at least in terms of the guys that came from relegation. Got to go with Pittsburgh Knights, Toby. They're still Pittsburgh Knights. And Identivez joining back to the mix, playing with Dezo. He's now fully happy. I think PK is going to be a deadly force in the series. It's not going to be easy, but they should win it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Toti. You know, we always talk to each other in Twitch chat, and I always give him props because he deserves it, because he's such a fantastic player and always has been, regardless of these different roster changes, unfortunate in many ways that he's gone through, and now he's landed on his new position of Fury 1. But sadly, I have to go with PK as well. I have to stick with that experience. Identivez, I think, is going to perform. Because remember, we were talking about this earlier. Identivez was it was a different dynamic on Rebel, you know, over time, you know, with their roster changes. But Identivez always performed, it seemed like, regardless, right, you know, of his thoughts and mental game. He seemed to show up, and I think he will on with PK today. And I think I'm kind of sticking with my old school prediction in many ways. I think it's more of the same business as usual for both these teams. I just think PK will continue to edge out Fury 1. And I think ultimately the dynamic of the 2 teams will kind of say quite similar, actually.
All right. Well, chat, what about you? You going to go against the grain? You can't. Come on. They're not going to go against Pittsburgh Knights. Fury 1. I love them. But chat is all PK. Come on. It's the most popular Latin American team out there without question. All right. At one point, maybe Noble or Fire and Ice was starting to edge up, but PK has always been the crown of Latin America. So Pittsburgh Knights across the board, yellow and black, which means Fury 1 is up to you to prove us all wrong. So Toby, I'm ready to get into map number 1, and this is where we start, right? Regency Control, a true proving ground, if you will, when it comes to teamwork and making sure your rotation's on point. And also that those pesky final hills, which Toti knows all about, especially when it comes to spawns. So this is a perfect start as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of like back to your basics in many ways, right? And I think Fury 1 are absolutely amazing at doing the basics well. Kind of play for the setups early, rotate as early as possible, and also try and avoid those team shotgun fights if they're not as advantageous perhaps as a situation as you perhaps prefer. But it's actually quite interesting. PK immediately getting onto the hill, and it's only just taken now for an attempt, I think. Aimboot trying to get in there, but it's going to be held off straight away by PK. This is kind of the key to victory, if you will, for PK on this map, is to kind of keep the pace up and be aggressive and get in the faces of the enemy, and it looks like they're doing just that.
Wow, talk about a dominant start from Pittsburgh Knights. Fury 1, Toby, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like they didn't want to challenge off the rip. Did you see them literally go into the hill and then back away and kind of stop at the 1 yard line? I don't know if they were doing that to hold down spawns, but it almost seemed as if they didn't want the smoke.
Yeah, kind of like a stuttering in decision-making, if you will, like a concern, like, wait, should we do it, should we not? Identivez getting the nice kill on Fury Jaled, but taking out his teammate in the process. Not ideal so far, of course, to take down your teammate that early with a power weapon, but 3 shots remaining. A good position for PK, points-wise, and also they can rotate round necessarily for the next hill. That would also be very good for them too.
Jaled trying to keep Fearzly at bay. Meanwhile, the 3v3 on your screen in the moment. Fury 1, they know the next hill is going to be coming into play shortly. Pittsburgh Knights knows they need to push into F1 if they want to get onto the hill. Identivez, 2 more shots remaining. However, nobody marked through the smoke, so he's going to wait for that to dissipate, see if he can find a couple of heads, or maybe even 3, depending on how he pops off. But when it comes down to Ventry, he's at the 1 yard line. He's at the front lines. He's going to go ahead and dodge a nice nade. Comes back in to help out Aimboot, but Identivez, nice shot. That's going to be Ventry dropping Aimboot as well. Pittsburgh Knights penetrating the hill pretty much flawlessly. Actually, in fact, it was flawless. They don't lose a single member. Unless they lose Dezo, they don't. So there it is, a flawless retake.
Yeah, and a clean team wipe at that as well, Taylor, leaving the rest of the PK players to stretch out as much as they want, essentially, as the Fury 1 players have to come straight back off spawn and wait for everybody to get in a position to try and conquer this static hold right now in front of us. Fearzly has got essentially a potential 1v1 here in the staircase, which he will back off for right hand. Meanwhile, the rest of the Fury 1 players will be trying to push straight through the center.
Set straight through the center, and Jaled straight through the hill. Nice shot onto Dezo, but he's back into the fight with the help of Raver. But Jaled, better worse for wear. I mean, Pittsburgh Knights are dominating 70-8. Fury 1, they'll take one final stab at this hill, and Aimboot and Ventry are going to try and do it themselves, pushing directly into at least one peak. That's going to be Raver on the opposite side, but their team fire, Toby, has been so critical. Fury 1, they confidently push up. They get within Nasher range. You see the effect that it can have, but by the time they get there, they can't be feeling good because they've been peppered so many times. I got to see the team damage in just a little bit, but I mean, for Pittsburgh Knights, this is almost a flawless, perfect start that they were looking for.
It is absolutely, and yeah, you're right. The actual team fight victory for Fury 1 will not really lead to much there, but I think it's kind of just a mental break at this point. Remember, just the score, 84-50 alone. Identivez continuing to get more M-bar ammo and fire shots away like that to find a check. Okay. I have zero idea why Ventry did that. Okay, so anyway, they're gonna have to wait for him to come off spawn now. As a result, Identivez continuing to fire off shots, continuing allowed to take easy shots in many ways, right? Simple body checks to finalize the kills that have already been peppered up by Lanta shots. Now can they finally get that team fight victory that will lead to performance here in the score?
That was two!
It will not be the case. A double again. Identivez continuing to go off with the power weapon.
You know what it was, Toby? Last time you criticized him, right? He got one member from Fury 1, but he also killed Fearzly, right? He took down his teammate. He said, I'll do you one better, Toby. I'll fix it for you. I'll get 2 members for Fury 1 with 1 shot. Well done. 9-1 as well. This man, Identivez, I knew coming back home, coming back to Pittsburgh Knights, playing alongside Dezo, he was going to be playing more confident than he ever has. And my lord, is he playing more confident than he ever has. Nice shots up front. Nice push from Fury 1. Kill feed a bit red and blue. It's like us in at least whenever our cams are off, but who's going to end up being ahead here? I can't really tell. PK, they're back on the attack. Fury 1, they look like they had a glimmer of hope in that fight, and then it was taken away. Pittsburgh Knights still lead.
Yeah, there they are. I mean, Identivez, you said it best, is completely coming into his own right now. He's so confident in how he's playing. Also, doesn't seem to be getting too aggressive, although perhaps I've spoken a little bit too soon. 1v2 situation for him to try and deal with. Not able to collect on the kill in the end, but just took a little bit too long, perhaps, many ways, for Fury 1 to find that player in the end. The scoreline, they're still on 15 points. Finally, they get the M-bar in their hands. It's a very difficult next hill, of course, Taylor, right in the center, and PK are playing very hot right now.
Nice to see Jaled. Nice to see Fury 1 in general with an M-bar, but Jaled's kind of whiffed at least a couple of shots. Trying to line up one on Dezo, not going to do so. Got to watch out for Fearzly. Fearzly might close that gap very quickly. Jaled now putting the M-bar away, pulling out the Nasher. Got to be very cognizant. Ventry was on the opposite side. That is the, 3rd or 4th shot Jaled has missed. Nasher out. He's looking at a wall of Pittsburgh Knights member. He has no choice but to maintain his life, keep those 2 M-bar shots, so he might make a shot, but Toti, he whiffs all of them. He doesn't get a single connection, not even a single body.
Yeah, and that's the right term, I think. Whiffing, essentially, when you're that close and very predictable. Animations in front of you. It's a really big deal, actually, and a really big contrast to Identivez. Meanwhile, Speak of the Devil, power weapon back in his hands in the form of frags. Not going to connect, but they did shift off the Fury 1 players for now. Now a 2v2 situation for him to try and find the last kill for, and he does. Well played indeed. Looks like he's got one more 1v1 here on this hill.
Oh, look at him swinging it wide, waiting. He knew his teammates was there, but did he account for the flank? He did not. Raver tries to be the hero to get the cleanup on Toti. Not going to be able to, but I'm astounded at how quickly Pittsburgh Knights are able to refresh and get back onto the hill. 2v2. Ventry takes down one. Now 1v1. Dezo on the opposite side. He's got to get this cleanup quickly with Aimboot because he knows reinforcements from PK are just up ahead, but Need a team budging, and Pittsburgh Knights refusing to get up close and personal, but Toti on a bit of a flank, picks up one, picks up two, can't get the third. Jaled there is for the pickup. However, PK still keeping the hill contested. They are not giving up any inches to Fury 1.
I think the center hill, Taylor, is known on pretty much every single control map, whether that's in ranked, whether that's in esports. That is going to be the most scrappy hill, the most highly contested hill in many ways, and both teams really just played like it was complete chaos there. Little difference to a ranked match other than the raw skill involved. It was just shotguns galore. Now, finally, teams can breathe a little bit. Jaled finally getting into the game himself with a double.
There we go!
Triple as well. Fantastic. Exactly what you need. One player to go off just a little bit for some excitement to come through the veins of Fury 1, and they can finally get into this game.
Look, Toti rosters, I mean, they are pretty familiar with coming back, okay? And one good thing about Toti-led rosters is they keep their composure, Toby. So I would love to see Fury 1 come back, and maybe that three-piece was what Fury 1 needed to say, okay, we can do this. After all, 150 to 54, it's really not that far out away from F1 at this point to come back, and we are seeing some new life. I'm loving this. Even with new life, however, Pittsburgh Knights does get onto the hill. They find real estate, and it kind of like we literally flipped sides. Fury 1, they were on the hill. Now Pittsburgh Knights are there, and F1 are now fighting to regain control, which, to their credit, they seem like they might be able to.
Yeah, I do wonder, though. Game continuing to be scrappy in many ways, but Fury 1 will survive on this hill. And a very important hill of that. I think it is kind of just mental at this point for Fury 1. They need to get themselves into this match. It's going to be a long series otherwise if they don't hurry the hell up, essentially, in terms of their shotgun ability, in terms of their simple mistakes. Toti, lovely kill from him. Currently sat at 8 to 10 in terms of the KD department. The scoreline, a little bit closer than it once was, of course, because of that one hill. They've had some teamfight victories. They've had some great pop-off moments. Fury 1 needs to keep it up, though.
As they're doing a wonderful job stopping Fury 1 before they can go up these double steps. You know you want to lock in that back position of this next hill coming into play. Raver nearly taking on all of the F1 roster inside of mid, and he nearly does it, but luckily his teammates are able to get the cleanups there for the M-bar. Should be secured from PK, depending on how this fight goes. I thought there was going to be a good push from Aimboot, but despite his heroic efforts, it wasn't enough, and now Toti, he kind of has to pick up the slack alongside that of Ventry. Identivez reading Toti like a book. Raver swinging left. The big battle for M-bar is here, and Fury 1, they're trying their best. They really are. Maybe they make a breakthrough. Ventry might have a chance to pick it up. He will, but now they have to focus on the hill.
No, they do. Perhaps take a moment, see if Ventry can find a head to open the door for a push here. Instead, they're going to go straight in, unfortunately. Lovely body from Raver over the top. Dezo as well finding Toti. M-bar just missing the opportunity there to fire off that shot onto the Scion. Nonetheless, Jaled will find that kill, but 3 seconds left. They're still going to have to wait for a second for the Fury 1 teammates to get back into it now. Spawn to push for what is not many points left, really, Taylor.
Yeah, not at all. Not many points. But, I mean, for Fury 1, they see the scoreline. They see Pittsburgh Knights at 203. And I respect that they do want to challenge. They understand the next hill is going to be coming back into Roses, so they can kind of challenge this and then work their way over if they need to. But even with them wanting to get the scrap time, Toby, they are unable to do so. Pittsburgh Knights still keeping Fury 1 below 100 points. And like I said, we head back to Roses. And, well, Dezo, he wants to get Toti out of the way. He will. Those nades are also going to go to waste. And for Pittsburgh Knights, they're going to be on the same side they were when they started the initial round. Fury 1, last time we saw this right off the start, Toby, they didn't push in. This time, will they?
Speaking of pushes, though, Taylor, 2v1 opportunity against Dezo. Dezo, fantastic turnaround. Back A to bring that back to what was a 1v1 situation, keeping the numbers somewhat in PK's favor, given their aggression, although I say that perhaps a little bit too soon. Fury 1 quickly coming in with the reinforcements from behind as well. Toti on the flank should help that kill in the end. Fury 1, 50 seconds left on this hill now. Good opportunity for themselves to get into this game.
Well, they break 100 at least, so that's good news for Fury 1 fans out there, but still, obviously, a lot more work needed to be done. And look at those spawns, Toby. Pittsburgh Knights getting the perfect spawns for next, and I don't know if F1 was accounting for this. Maybe they were. Stand still on the opposite side. That's not going to amount to much unless you just really want to kill Dezo, which it seems as if they definitely do. But by pushing out, it gives an opportunity for Pittsburgh Knights to find real estate in the hill to push up on the Toti. But Toti, he's not backing down. He'll pick up one. Jaled will help for the second. And they will also regain spawn control. Well done, Fury 1. They might have a chance.
That they might. Let's see how Dezo does with the Ember. Although, it's not going to be in his hands too long, is it? 2v1 quickly coming in for those guys. And now Dezo's been taken out. The Ember is no longer a threat. Jaled is finding Raver. And notice the difference, right? It's a completely different trait coming out from Fury 1. That's a little bit more aggression. The shotgun victories are starting to come through, both individually and as a team. You can see that reflecting the score. And Toti seems to be coming in to his own as well. 1v3 in front of him, full red. Will they chase? PK looking for it very quickly. I think he might have a little bit of support from behind. Note Fury 1 players will continue to go back to the hill, and they have a little bit of time now, PK, with the frag grenades to make a play here.
Nice. Love that, Jaled. That's what we need to see. Jaled, he is performing so well. He joined this Fury 1 roster alongside that of Toti, replacing Last Move and Toxic, and Jaled has definitely been one of the standout players on Regency here in map number 1. The scoreline, look how close it is, Toby. When we first joined and we first looked at really that first initial battle, which then turned into Pittsburgh Knights leading 200-97. Now you look at it, 190-228. Fury 1 are coming back, and I said it best. Toti-led rosters. They have the composure. Toti doesn't get down and out. Fury 1 are definitely making this happen. Pittsburgh Knights, they need to get serious, and they need to get serious now.
They do. Complete swing in the game right now between the two teams, performance-wise. Clearly, the consistency is coming through finally for Fury 1. Toti, another 1v1 situation, not going to come through there. But yeah, the score is relatively close. Pretty damn close now, considering 300 is very close indeed to PK's reach as well. Let's see how actually if they get this spawn. I think, yeah, they will have the spawn control, but if the Fury 1 players can just get another downs through the front to open up a situation for a push, not going to come through. Nonetheless, PK definitely with the advantage here. A lovely shot grenade up the front could delay them further.
A great shot. That blocks down at least one choke point. So now they have to funnel through the left side of stairs. It'll only be for a short period of time, but Fury 1, they're about to mount a push. This is a critical hill. This hill is going to make or break Fury 1, and the same thing for well, really, it's not going to break Pittsburgh Knights, but it can absolutely break F1. If they fail this attempt, Fury 1 might lose this map relatively shortly, and seeing some glimmers of hope for Fury 1. They might make a push relatively soon with that body shot. Here we go. The cavalry's in. Raver knows I need to get to work. Nice shots up ahead to get some damage, but unfortunately, Dezo is unable to get any chunks because of that damage output. And Fury 1, Toby, they get the break when they needed it most. That's so big for them because now Fury 1 has a real chance to close that deficit once again. 30 seconds remain.
Identivez, love this choice from him as well. Blocking that spawn for the moment, right? And they knew exactly where he was. He's now rotated out early enough so he cannot get chased. Meanwhile, Jaled sneaking the M-bar into his hands, trying to shoot through that, just to the side of that bush. Not going to connect with Raver there. But yeah, I mentioned it earlier, they are very close to 300 now, PK. So Fury 1, yes, they've come to light and really pretty much come on fire as individuals and as a team, but need to stay close to that points department or PK might sneak it in the end.
And Embar getting put to work from Jaled. He's done so incredibly well, especially as this round is continuous. Map is continued. He even gets it down onto Identivez. Talk about in the nick of time. This next hill coming up is going to be a scrappy one for sure. Tough to lock in a win, but Pittsburgh Knights being as close as they are, they can absolutely do so for Fury 1. Same situation from the last hill. This could make or break them. I love that push, though, and I also love that Toti locking in mid, or at least trying to. Dezo will bleed out. Toti will pick up yet another. That is huge because now Fury 1 might be able to clear the hill, and Toby, they've done it.
Much better from Fury 1. It's the aggression for me, Taylor. It's a completely different dynamic from what we saw at the start. Toti straight off spawn here. Or rather, not off spawn, I should say. PK are quite quickly off spawn and looking for his position. Out of Lancer shots, out of health. Toti will be dropped. That's a 4v3 situation. Down to... Oh, hello. Aimboot trying to even up the odds a little bit. Is actually going to sacrifice his life. Question is, Jaled pre-active M-bar. Connection of shots now needed more now than ever.
Definitely. Puts it away, though, unfortunately. Got to do this. No, the mismantle! The mismantle will put them down, and Pittsburgh Knights once again have a chance to get narrowly close to 300. They won't close it out here. That's why they are rotating out for the next hill, but for Fury 1, a lot of work was done. They come close, but no score lead change just yet. But honestly, at this point, it's either going to be a win or a loss. Really, the score lead change isn't going to amount too much. 260 to 286. Pittsburgh Knights on the outside looking in. Fury 1, they are on the end. They are currently on the current hill. This is where Toti, he's got some bad memories, right? In the past, the spawns got away from him, and he ended up losing a championship because of it. For Toti, lessons learned, and he knows what he needs to do here. Ventry with the shock Toby, that could be massive.
It absolutely could. If he can delay the throw, I would about to say you can't do it anymore. If the frag grenade is thrown in, that means PK are about to throw themselves into the mix. Lovely dodge of the nade from Ventry. They need to stay alive as long as they can. Wait for reinforcements. PK, though, are here to play.
Here we go. Maybe the final push. Pittsburgh Knights, Wolf packing in, making it tough for Jaled. Jaled dances around as long as he can. Aimboot from the flank. He splits the dividend. Takes down one. Goes for the second. Not gonna happen. And this might be the end of map number 1 as Pittsburgh Knights are less than 10 points away. Fury 1 desperately clawing their way back to the hill, sprinting as quickly as they can. Now just 2 seconds remain. It won't be enough. 300 to 275 is where this will end. A valiant effort, a wonderful comeback for Fury 1, but Toby, it wasn't enough. PK, take map 1.
Yeah, what an absolute effort, and I think that's what it comes down to, right? You can try as hard as you might and have a really good second half, but if you lose that first half, Taylor, and to the extent that they really did, where PK just simply went off. They allowed Identivez to really come into his own on this really important match, with his new roster, with that Ember. Then you will come to regret it. And just think how close the score was in the end, Taylor. They didn't have to go off as hard as they did in the second half. If they really started off as strong as they did through that second, they, tried to be a little bit more aggressive, and they weren't,
right.
Perhaps a little bit as nervous, perhaps it seems like, from a lot of those, whiffed Ember shots we were talking about earlier from Jaled. I mean, just notice how he was embarring later on, Taylor. It was like a completely different player. And I think that reflects, amongst all of the players on Fury 1. Hopefully now they're warmed up. Hopefully their minds are in the game so they can't see the second map and future maps go the same way.
Yeah, Fury 1, what a comeback that was, but it still wasn't a W, which can definitely weigh heavy on your mind. I had a chance to ask competitors in the past, what affects you more? Does it affect you more when you get blown out 300 to 50, 300 to 75, or does it hurt more when you just barely lose? And the answer was, what hurts when you just barely lose? It hurts when you start coming back and then you still take the L, because it was like all that work, that 17 plus minutes of gameplay for what, Toby? For the L? Well, that can weigh heavily on your mind. As we look at the replays, you can clearly see Pittsburgh Knights in that early start was truly devastating.
Yeah, they were. They honestly were, and it was hard to fault PK, really. I can't remember even criticizing them at one point throughout that first half. But yes, Jaled started coming to his own. It was really this triple, I think, that kickstarted that, actually, Taylor. It was almost like a switch had been flicked for all the players involved for Fury 1. But it's just that threat of PK warming up to that extent and really getting off hot to the races, where it was more a test of mental towards the end. Yes, Fury 1 were able to recover, but then which team was going to be seeing it out at the end? Was PK just going to really lose their momentum completely after what was a fantastic comeback from Fury 1? Was Aimboot going to come through with incredible plays like this, or were they going to hold out? And thankfully for PK, they did hold out. And Fury 1 will have to really, after that performance, collect themselves, make sure they're continuing as they did in that second half through to the second map and third map. And you brought up that concern, that question, right? Would you rather lose by a huge amount, or would you rather lose by a close amount? And I think for Fury 1, it's really important, actually, that they didn't lose by a huge margin, because that second half was so important qualitatively to get them firing shots, to have those Ember shots finally connect, to have confidence in themselves, both as players and importantly as a team, given the new roster dynamic they probably are dealing with right now, in the form of Toti coming through. I think Fury 1 hopefully now will be in a better place after losing to PK on that first map than they were perhaps 25%, 50% through the first one.
Yeah, the biggest key takeaway for me, Toby, is Fury 1 at first were playing into what Pittsburgh Knights were doing. So they were being reactive instead of proactive, but then they reached a certain point and it was kind of, you could see the transition. I think it was Jaled who hit that beautiful three-piece with the M-bar. And then from that point, Fury 1 stopped playing like Pittsburgh Knights. They stopped playing, if you will, against Pittsburgh Knights and started playing the way Fury 1 wanted to play. And when that transition happened, Pittsburgh Knights had a big game on their hand, and those leads started lessening. And in fact, it got to the point where it was nearly neck and neck. And that was when Fury One said, enough is enough. This is our game. We're going to make Pittsburgh Knights play our game as opposed to the other way around. And that is going to be a key factor moving into map number 2. We're moving into Ephyra Execution, a map where Pittsburgh Knights has always been incredibly good on. And a large portion of that, at least success in my eyes, was because of Monkeys. Monkeys was a wonderful flex player to help Raver fight in Hotel. Well, now Monkeys isn't here anymore. It's Identivez, and he's got to pick up that slack. And you mentioned that at the beginning of the conversation with the series, Toby. Who's going to change their identity? Who's going to change their play style? Well, Pittsburgh Knights are going to have to change their play style, and they're going to have to account for Monkeys being absent.
Yeah, it's a little bit different in terms of that Identivez Monkey comparison, right? Monkeys is, when I think of Monkeys in terms of his perfect position, it's kind of that Torquebow on Tomb, you know, where he can be that front pole position. He can really thrust his raw skill into the enemy and really make them have to deal with it one way or another. Historically in Pro League, that gives him the best stats in the game, you know. In Majors, inconsistencies, you know, some incredible performances here, some not so there. But the thing with Identivez is that he has been completely consistent throughout Majors, and perhaps it goes to show that experience dating back to early Gears 4 on the bigger stages. Maybe that helps him there. But also Identivez is more of a powerful player, isn't he? You know, going for that bolt talk, incredible with that weapon on Gears 4, just the same in Gears 5. Snipe, Torquebow, M-Bar, you name it. We just saw the M-Bar, of course, on Regency. So it is a little bit of difference there between the two players, right? You might think they're two star players. Yes, but there's more to it than that. And so far, I'm impressed from how PK have actually dealt, you know, with this roster change and, you know, gone forward and had a really strong performance on that first map. And something we should touch upon briefly as well, Taylor, while it's on my mind, is the fact that Fury One really wanted to win that control. PK are an extremely good execution team. I said it before, said it again, perhaps the best XC team ever on Gears 5. And Fury One have definitely been a better control team than any of the other modes, especially execution, I want to say. So they are really on the back foot now, and PK looked extremely confident. They seemed composed through the difficult moments, of course, that we saw on Regency and that comeback coming on from Fury One. I'm wondering if Fury One are down and out now for the series, actually considering that difference in performance in the different modes.
Well, the good news is Ephyra Execution was phenomenal from this Fury One roster in this DNA. Back in relegation, they beat their team they were playing against, which was MC. They beat them 6-0, and it was because of that just pure aggression, but also their maneuverability across the map and also flexibility. And look at how aggressive Pittsburgh Knights are getting, immediately collapsing down the steps, down onto Jaled after they picked up Aimboot just a little bit earlier. First blood, second blood, now third Ventry, last alive, 1v4. All he has to do is just run around. He's gone. That's a team ace. You don't see many teams aggressively push down those steps onto Torquebow. Maybe occasionally, but Pittsburgh Knights made a statement with round 1.
They did, and it's a similar situation actually to Regency, right? They were the first ones on the hill. We talked about it. It seemed perhaps it was a little bit of stuttering, you know, psychologically from Fury One onto that first objective, and it seemed like just that PK are just hitting the ground running, and Fury One aren't able to carry on from the momentum they had on map number 2. PK need to continue that. Fury One, of course, they need to get their heads back in the game and perhaps play to their own strengths again. You know, get a little bit more aggressive rather than play around PK.
That's a big down on the Fearzly. Raver, he's got to answer back. He will onto Aimboot, so it's going to be traded, but Raver down himself, and now the pendulum swings back into the favor of Fury One in this 3v2. Ventry find anybody that he can. The last two remaining members from Pittsburgh Knights, and Dezo might be a potential victim, and that would be a great person to take down. You get the Torquebow out of the way, it makes your life a lot easier in this 3v2. And as far as Ventry goes, he's being patient. I like the patience. You can see, though, in the X-ray, loads in the active, but does he send one flying onto Dezo?
Yeah, I mean, execution, you have 2 shots, of course, in the drop shot. But in many ways, it's even more important. I mean, definitely more important that just a single shot in execution. given no respawns. 2v3, Dezo. Hello. That's very interesting. Torbo into a run from a flank has just come up, and there's the drop shot as well. He's finding his teammate in the process. 1v2 situation. Left for Dezo to try and clutch up. 2 shots remaining. Yeah, that was a funny one, of course, with the up A on the Torbo. Now, let's see if he can find an up A onto Toti with the weapon. Not going to happen. The drop shot will come through. And the first round win for the Swarm side in in Fury 1. That was a interesting closing moments there.
Yeah, I mean, Dezo, surely that was an ego push, right? With Torpo out, he knew there was a player behind that cover, you know, and he was like, I don't care. I'm going to push you anyways with Torpo in hand. I think Pittsburgh Knights are feeling very comfortable and clearly feel as if they are the superior team here, but got to see them play a bit more serious. That round got a bit loose, but it was a 3v2, and they tried their best to come back. Once again, just like round 1, Toby, the aggression from Pittsburgh Knights pushing Fury 1 back, but notice how they themselves back away, and now they can collapse in on Pittsburgh Knights, who are currently pinned.
Yeah, that they can. Toti, of course, is Ventry to his right. There he is. Drop shot in hand. Thrown over the top. Will catch out Raver. Raver, I don't think he even saw that coming. He was looking the other direction, essentially. Sat on the cover. Lovely shot from Ventry. 4v3, 1 drop shot remaining. Honestly, there's no situation now where Fury 1 should be losing this round. Take it as slow as you need, Taylor, around the outskirts of the Ephyra, just to make sure you don't get stuck. By Dezo here on our screen. 5 shots remaining for there. They've even spotted him out. They know Dezo is the one with the torp bow. Can't miss that cowboy hat on Dizzy. No siree. Just take it slow. Just take it slow as you need, just to make sure this round comes through. Ventry cannot be getting caught out. And just basic positioning like that, knowing how close Dezo is.
Someone threw a shot. Maybe Pittsburgh Knights. Dezo, it evens it up 3-3. And now you can make the argument that Pittsburgh Knights could very well flip the script, take this round. Drop shot out, doesn't connect. Dezo down, however. Identivez gets him back into the fight. Dezo gets away. And now we have an effective reset. Still a 3v3. This could very well come down to the overtime, which starts in 30.
Got it good. Fury 1 moving fast though. Great up A onto Identivez. Dezo has to deal with this with his shotgun. Lovely bouncing, mind you, from Fury 1. Just about turning the round away there in the end after what was, for me, I was about to go off in terms of that criticism with the torp bow. I'm baffled that Dezo was allowed to get even the 2-shot opportunities that he had. Never mind a kill. Look at this, though, for a highlight for Jaled. That movement on that staircase, brilliant stuff. Dezo missing every shot, essentially. I think he was caught by surprise, actually, by Fury 1's movement there on the outside. But they have to kind of like clean up a little bit. They can't allow Dezo to get those opportunities with the torp bow. They know where he is.
True.
Why are we getting stuck?
Valid point, you know, but one good key takeaway from Fury 1 is they're doing a great job reacting to Pittsburgh Knights' aggression, you know, and case in point here, Ventry, though, unfortunately doesn't have any help. That's probably a bit of a flaw on Fury 1's part, but Pittsburgh Knights, so they made the adjustment to send an additional player to fight for drop shot, and therefore amounted to a first blood. Drop shot out. Oh, nice shot on the Jaled. Unfortunately, drop shot will go to waste. 3v2 now. Toti last alive at a 1v3. Could have been doable, but unfortunately for him, he had Pittsburgh Knights members all around him, and that's going to be a much needed round for PK. Fury 1 in rounds 2 and 3 looked as if they had Pittsburgh Knights numbers and maybe not going to be slowing down, but finally they have to pump the brakes, and PK, with the adjustment on the drop shot push, seemed to work out.
Yeah, that it did. I love that drop shot over the top. Has to be said. I'm not sure if the player was spotted there in the end, but really timed that to perfection, even though it cost him his life in the end, that, and he caught out with an Asher. 4v4. Strategically, Fury 1 should have a good idea now in terms of how PK are operating through the center of the map with their aggression. Identivez here kind of sat back a little bit, almost caught out and down there, thanks to some aggression by Aimboot. Dezo as well under pressure to a torp bow. You can see a lot of the players now hankering for some 1Bs.
Fearzly down now. Opportunity Fury 1. Identivez holding his ground as long as he can. He's full red, takes his time, regains. Raver with the kill on Ventry, brings it to a 3v3, but Toti says not so fast. Fury 1 back on top. Raver boldly picking up the drop shot. Sends one flying, connects onto Aimboot. That's huge. And now we're down to a 2v2. And the torque bow has yet to still be picked up. That's still stalemated, and Opportunity now for Jaled. It's here, 1v2. Can he get it? He splits the dividends between both Pittsburgh Knights members. Won't let it happen. PK will win a hotly contested round, but that could have went either which way at several moments during round 5.
Yep, Raver saving the round, though, definitely with that drop shot. That was excellent timing. It was essentially a lead shot, right? He threw it to the right, knowing where Aimboot was going to go. It's kind of as far as he could aim that drop shot through that window, Taylor, and he nailed it. No active, of course. Usually the bros wait for that, but you can wait for him right there for that reload to come, for the active to come through, given the aggression of Fury 1 in a 2v3 situation. Well played, Raver. So much composure.
So fight underway. Identivez trying to keep Aimboot back. Toti as well, just getting any shot that he possibly can. Identivez, though, sees an opportunity. He's trying to take it. Aimboot, he's going to go ahead and reverse, at least get on the opposite side. Takes down one. An opportunity is huge. We'll get the second. Can we get the third? Yes, we can. Aimboot with a massive play. Fury 1 tie it up.
Look at that for some brilliant movement and shot timing, especially there in the end. You could see exactly the game plan of Aimboot, right? The aggression that has been thrown at him from the PK players. Identivez even leading the way there. But Aimboot, a little bit of spacing, kind of gauge his health a little bit, full red, a little bit of support from his teammates, and then suddenly PK have been caught out. Amazing backwards bounce. Didn't dodge a shot, but it set him up for a perfect up A to go in for that shot hole. Well played, Aimboot. 3-3.
Pittsburgh Knights are going to do one of two things. They're going to just pump the brakes and take this slow, or they're going to get overly aggressive because they're angry off of that last round. I mean, Aimboot had 3 members of PK in front of him, and he handled his business on every single one. Granted, Jaled did help with the, or at least with the chip damage.
He is again.
Nice opening kill from Aimboot. He's a confident player, Toby. We're seeing that confidence come out. And again, on Regency, it took a little bit for Fury 1 to finally say, okay, we're going to play our game instead of PK. Now Fury 1 are playing their game, and Pittsburgh Knights can't keep up.
Maybe this is the flair we wanted to see in the end, right, Taylor? Maybe it wasn't as simple as this in our minds, but maybe it actually is in practice. And that is just to get up in close and personal with into the faces of your enemies, right? Fury 1 are usually a team by the book that they like to play through with their lancers and their setups and whatnot. But right now, they're just relying on their raw individual skill. And usually you'd think, PK have a huge advantage in this area. But Aimboot is completely turning that around right now. And he seems to have Identiv's number actually through the center. Completely different dynamic here.
There you go.
Through the midline of the map. You can see him just immediately using that smoke to get across and looking for potential 2v1 there over on that side. Against Fearzly, Identivez has to come back now and adjust to him.
Dezo could be deadly, however, with the torque bow. Will be in. Toti might get his head popped off, but no, Dezo. He's going to just play it safe. Ventry on the opposite side with drop. Could very well get first blood, as we're still at a 4v4, and we're going to end up into a bit of a stalemate. Ephyra has a tendency to do this if neither team gets a tremendous advantage off the rip. So now, Toby, what's the job of PK or Fury 1?
It's simple, really. You go back to the power weapons during slow moments like this. Dezonide needs to try and find those sticks. He has the range advantage. Meanwhile, that drop shot is the most powerful weapon in the game. And so, in many ways, I would argue that Fury 1 have the advantage. They just need to make sure they don't get stick. And I know that sounds perhaps easier to hear, you know, simply put, than avoid when a pro player like Dezo has it in his hands. But just go cover to cover. Stick to your basics. Communicate where Dizzy is moving on the map. And make sure you have eyes on him at all times through that spotting. And as I said, through the use of the mic. The advantage as well for Fury 1, considering it is Execution 2.0 is the objective at the end. It's going to draw a lot of the players towards that last hill, and if they do position correctly, then they should be okay in avoiding that in avoiding the torque bow. Cover to cover, just move early.
This man confident. Oh, Fearzly though, so one-sided and just really tunnel vision on Aimboot. As fair enough, right? Because Aimboot's been known to push players aggressively. Meanwhile, that sets him up for a nice drop shot kill. And even Aimboot also getting a secondary drop shot. So you got 2 torque bows for Pittsburgh Knights, 2 drops for Fury 1, and a drop shot connection onto Dezo. 4v2. But hold up, maybe there's new life, but only for a short period of time. You mentioned it, with it being Execution 2.0. It came down to that overtime hill. And for Fury 1, that first opening pick with the drop was everything they needed to get the momentum to close out that round.
Yeah, that it was. Much better from them. Dezo really didn't have many opportunities. You could see they were pretty much in cover at all times with the Fury 1 players. No stick of them, no chance of them getting stuck there until the end, and Dezo was forced to go and find someone to stick. Meanwhile, the drop shot was just there and waiting down the corridor. Well played, Fury 1. One more round now to wrap up map number 2.
If they can tie it up 1-1, tie up the series, Aimboot, the man on your screen, has been so influential in the success of F1 throughout this map number 2, but this time around, Pittsburgh Knights, well, they'll get the better of them. They'll also get the better of Toti. So this puts a ton of pressure on the Jaled and Ventry. This very well could go to a round number 10 shortly, and I think it will, Toby. Jaled last alive with Torquebow. As this round kind of wraps up, Jaled trying to clutch up. Where did Fury 1, where did they get the better of them? Was it that first kill onto Aimboot?
Essentially, right? I think Aimboot is really holding the flag high for Fury 1, and when he gets taken out, I think perhaps that will influence Fury 1 in quite a big way. Lovely drop shot there at the end to conclude that round. But yeah, I think Aimboot really now has taken the game into his own hands. When he's kind of that icebreaker, if you will, for the team, he's leading the charge, and even if he's not getting kills, he's still kind of pushing that front line, right? You know, testing PK in terms of their formation, forcing Identivez to pull back from the mid line of the map. I think that really influences things when you lose Aimboot straight away, and PK, they can use their experience, their raw talent, especially in execution, to adapt once that comes through.
Tell you what, you know, normally teams start to, you know, kind of turtle up, if you will, and be a little bit passive when they're so close to victory. I don't want to see that flare from Aimboot kind of be extinguished. I want to see him continue to be aggressive and do what's worked. Toti, much the same. Push this fight onto Raver if you feel like you can take it. Obviously, a little bit of a bait and switch. Jaled, fortunate for him, he is going to get angled out, and that was because of a great teamwork from Dezo and Identivez. And Aimboot, he's got to really step it up to make this happen. He'll take down one. Fearzly might die. Fury 1. Toby, they might actually win this round after all.
That was beautiful from Aimboot. 2v2 now. Big situation for Ventry to deal with. Drop shot in his hands. Most important player alive right now. Oh my, that's a huge miss with the drop shot. Nowhere near his target. One shot remaining. But yeah, I saw Aimboot flank through the center. It was their only opportunity for Fury 1, given where the pieces on the chessboard, if you will, were placed for Fury 1 to actually get back into the game. And he made that work with some fantastic movement. 2v2. Fury 1 all on this side. This player on his own right now, Identivez, is not in the best location. Thankfully, he does have a Torquebow here trying to close the gap. Drop shot blocked him off, and it did not connect. All drop shots gone. Big 1v1 situation. Toti will win it, though. Continuing to back away and ensuring Dezo has to try and go out his way, essentially, to defeat him.
He's pinched, though. Can he find an exit so he can maybe alleviate some of the pressure? And he will. Fury will naturally start setting up for the overtime hill. Opportunity to push Toti, though. Bring it to 1v1. What a shot that was! Are you kidding me? And now he can back away. Ventry could very well be in trouble. Question I have, does Identivez have any more torques remaining in a Torquebow? Does he even need them? Beautiful off angle onto Ventry. Identivez, you question it at the beginning. Is he still the king of Latin America, Toby? Yes, he is.
Absolutely stunning from Identivez there. Honestly, by the book, perfect. Yeah, he might have been a little bit split off from his teammate earlier, and he was kind of blocked off from the drop shot. Look at this highlight, though. Fantastic from Aimboot. It was simply incredible, and that was kind of what he was split off from in the end. But look at this for a clutch. Tried to go with that Torquebow, right? One shot left, didn't stick. Instantly whipped out his Nasher because he knew he needed to try and find that 1v before Ventry got into the situation. Then a little bit of damage going wide on the left hand will find his kill on Ventry. Picture perfect from Identivez, and he's been so impressive this series so far, Taylor.
It's been such a crazy series. I'm loving every single second. You look at the aggression from Fury 1. They want revenge on Identivez. They'll get it, but so will Pittsburgh Knights. In fact, they'll get the better end of the bargain. Now 3v2. Fearzly with the drop shot. Jaled with the torque, however. We saw what he could do with the M-bar on Regency. Let's see what he could do with it on Ephyra. Such a critical round and such a critical spot for Jaled to be in, Toby. He needs a pick. I mean, at this point, it is do or die for him.
Oh, literally. The hope of the map actually rests on him now for the Fury 1 banner. The PK have no business losing this round, and as a result, this map. Drop shot in hand and a one-man advantage. Aimboot as well, though. That star player who's been doing so well, still alive. Running across the map, looking for that 1v, hunting for it, because it's exactly what he needs. But he's getting pinched here. He opens the door, though. 1v. Oh, a nice little stick from Fearzly. The Aimboot is pretty much out of the game now. 2v1. All Torbo's gone.
Still doable. Identivez did it a little bit earlier. Jaled, oh, he's just a hair away from dying, but he manages to regain. But watch your flank, brother. Dezo's there, and Pittsburgh Knights will complete the comeback, win round 11, and lead 2-0 in the series against Fury 1. And, you know, it takes a team effort, right, for Pittsburgh Knights to come back. But there's one man on my mind, Toby. One man, and that man is Identivez.
And he's making it work, isn't he? What a fantastic showing from Identivez. 3 rounds in a row for both teams there at the end. What a fantastic map, too, that was.
Fantastic map, and Pittsburgh Knights, they've got to be on cloud 9. Fury 1 might be down in the dumps, down 2-0 off of 2 very narrow wins from Pittsburgh Knights' perspective. BK, they're on top of the world. Fury 1, they've got to answer back. Training Grounds, Escalation, map number 3 coming up after the break. Welcome back, everybody, to the Gears Pro League Split 4 Day 1. I have been anything but disappointed in the way this series has gone, Toby. Pittsburgh Knights, Fury 1, I knew it was going to be a battle, and what a battle it has been.
It has been a very entertaining map number 2. And this was a lovely drop from PK Fearzly. It was kind of another map of power weapon play for me. It's safe to say the Torbo and drop shot kind of really framed how Ephyra was going to be played out. This was amazing from Raver, that drop shot in particular too. We had some sticks, of course, from Dezonide, and then there was that big battle in the middle, right? Aimboot really coming into his own. PK completely surrounding him here. Fantastic plays. I mean, just think, we were just talking about that Identivez play, but it was even that from Aimboot and how he was playing in many different situations with the shotgun, right? That really gave Ephyra a lot of character for me in terms of some of our best execution, one of our best execution maps we've ever seen. Fantastic drop shot from Ventry there. This was huge from Aimboot. This was stunning for me. He knew what he needed to do, Taylor. He had to close the gap and get the kill as fast as he could, so he didn't even bother shooting at first. He had to go for the shot hold, and he made it work. Identivez, insane back A, quickly changing his character to the left so he can shoot over that small cover going wide. It's just back to basics for me. A combination of smarts and individual skill there from Identivez on that clutch. And of course, that was the concluding round with a nice pinch from the PK players. Unfortunate, of course, in many ways, right? Given how close that map 2 was. And when you look at that scoreline in the top, Taylor, it was a very close map number 1 as well. Is it over for Fury 1? That's the question. Yeah. Going into TG.
Yeah, can't answer that. I really can't. Fury 1 has been so close that it's like they're on the edge. They're on the cusp of victory, and they just can't get over that hump, unfortunately. But it's not because they're choking. Like, that's not what the issue is. You know, chat, whoever's going to scream, oh, Fury 1's choking, and, you know, they're not playing well. No, they're playing, I mean, excellent. This would be a matchup that, honestly, if you were to just take what we've seen so far, put it into the summer major, you would say, okay, this is the best of the best that we have from both of these rosters. And it has been absolutely nail-biting. Even from Regency, granted, it was very one-sided from Pittsburgh Knights' perspective until Fury 1 started coming back. And what a comeback that was. And you made a great point. If Fury 1 doesn't fall behind as far as they did, could they have won map 1? Maybe, but what it could have, should have. That's what Blaze loves to say, and that's the same thing here, right? What it could have, should have. But the point is, Fury 1 are right there, neck and neck with Pittsburgh Knights, but Pittsburgh Knights are 5% better in those clutch moments. Identivez is a great example of that.
Yeah, it appears so. Identivez clearly coming into his own this entire match. It wasn't just Ephyra. Remember, the first map was incredible from him in terms of his power weapon play, you know, coming into his own. His role hasn't changed there, and he has kind of slotted in nicely with some of his old teammates as they're clearly allowing him to pick up the M-bar and play in his own way rather than adapt to the new PK style. And for me as well, the Fury 1 in general have had some moments of mistakes. They haven't been as clean cut as I'm used to seeing them. So perhaps PK are actually benefiting a little bit more from the roster change in the short term at the moment. maybe it's just a psychology thing that Fury 1 needs to sort out now, and they can really come into their own as a team and live off that last 5%, as you said.
I don't start bringing psychology into the conversation too early. You're going to make my head hurt, Toby. You're way too smart for me to be discussing psychology with you, okay, man? But hey, either way, it might be, right? It very well might be. Pittsburgh Knights, they are on fire without question. And Fearzly, I mean, that's a great start. An even better start, obviously, from PK because they do win the neutral. But there is a massive battle over on the B hill. And Dezo is doing everything in his power in conjunction with Fearzly to get Ventry and Toti away from him. Surely they die, but seems as if an X Factor has joined into the mix. That was Jaled now, and we just have a scrappy fight. Who gets the added advantage? Well, it comes down to a 1v1, and Raver will take it. But, I mean, what a battle that was for the neutral. PK had it early on. Fury 1, they didn't back away. But either way, you look at the score line, you look at at least the hills. PK, they definitively win the initial, and they have the lead.
That they do. They don't have map control as of right now, so Fury 1 do have a ticket right back into this game. Score relatively close at this point in time. Now, the thing is for me, Taylor, coming back onto the respawn modes, if you will, onto Escalation map number 3, is that Fury 1 to start off strong. You know, don't worry too much now about another close map conclusion there at the end. Just try and stick to your guns and continue that aggression and that star plays from Aimboot. And I think right now is the really good potential actually for them. Those pushes for triple caps could work really well in this situation.
Breakout attempt from Aimboot as well as Jaled. They push forward to C, but have they been stopped? Well, not just yet. Dezo will fall to his knees, and therefore Fury 1 will complete the home-to-home stretch. Win condition, though, still should be into the hands of PK, and in fact, it absolutely is. So player 2, Jaled, has to hop onto B and get a decap. Meanwhile, simultaneously, you got to stop player 7 from getting on the home hill, but they're not going to be able to do so. So Fury 1, they are just on the edge of flipping the score lead. And even though we're seeing some great plays from Jaled, Toby, I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult now for them to come back into this situation as PK continue to rotate round and kind of have their way. Jaled, 5-1, mind you. Doing very well so far in the KD department in just one round. Tries to close the gap and go for that one shot. Not going to come through. The PK, you can see it right at the top, winning 20 seconds off one hill, and they can win off that single hill. That's the most important part. They can continue to rotate round and make sure they don't turtle up, because B hill is not the best hill, of course, to really rest your laurels on, that's for sure. 10 seconds left, but they seem to be doing it nonetheless, Taylor. As I say that, perhaps a little bit of a castor curse for Fury 1 as they continue to swarm in and lose numbers time and time again. And I think it's very quickly, very briefly, going back to the start of that round, it was very scrappy for that B hill fight, and Fury 1 kind of just living up to this moniker of perhaps a new aggressive team with the introduction of Toti and just kind of running and gunning as fast as you can, as fast as they may. But if PK continue the way they are and kind of just having that a little bit more polish, it might just become a little bit more readable. You know, you might not have as many options when you have Aimboot kind of chasing you down in a 1v situation in a Fear on Xe. Right. On Escalation, on Control, you can kind of just exit fight a little bit more easily. You can have the setups with map control of TG and whatnot and rotate around and avoid fights. And perhaps that's concerning for me at this point in time, as Fury 1 perhaps a little bit more predictable as time goes on.
That is an excellent point, and I'm going to put that in my back pocket so we can bring up after this series has concluded, but I think you're spot on with that insight. Pittsburgh Knights this time around, a bit of a cleaner initial, definitively winning the neutral. That was 7, Raver, who takes down player 4 Ventry, and now you got 3 down from Fury 1, Aimboot last alive here, and all 3 hills going to be currently being captured from Pittsburgh Knights' perspective. The only hope, I believe, is player 4 to get a touch. He's not going to be able to. Toby, Pittsburgh Knights learn from round number 1 that went 190 seconds this time. They only got 36.
Yeah, that was quite clinical actually from PK, wasn't it? Right through the up top fight as well as the down bottom area. They contained it so well. Fury 1 were just kind of scattered their players in the end, right? They were all just disjointed, kind of operating as single units, it seems like. And yeah, okay, a very quick change actually from Fury 1. I'm impressed. Snipe actually underneath. You know, Taylor, that I love it. I know you love it. And especially that placement of the snipe in the center, right underneath, that changes up the dynamic completely. Loads of players are going to have to be sent down bottom now.
And no surprise the Toti-led team is going to put it. I mean, that was was one of the things that Noble and F and I love to do on training grounds, and obviously for Toti, they're comfortable doing it, and it already pays off with 2 first eliminations. Fearzly desperately trying to get away. He's going to drop it. Well, Fury 1, a much better initial. The sniper seems to be what they needed.
Glorious. Lovely job from Toti as well, making sure he stays alive with Raver. And Aimboot with the 6 shots in. The snipe lining up. Takes a second to shoot. Only going to be a body check. The angle is there for Ventry, though. Surely they can at least get it down. Yep, they do, finally, on Identivez. But they have to make something of this now. A triple cap situation. They have the A and C hills. B is now finally being capped up. Aimboot just needs to stay alive. 5 seconds on the clock. And only 1 player left alive for in the form of Raver, who will actually break it for now. Remember, they do have snipe. And Toti still trying to hold, actually.
Nice.
Let's get the kill. Will they continue to kind of contain PK? Or are they still going for this triple cap? It actually looks like the latter. Toti closing the gap. It doesn't even need support from the sniper, it seems like. And just a single body check will confirm it in the end. Nonetheless, that isn't even needed. A little bit of a no-no from Jaled there on the end. Corpse, lovely stuff from Fury 1. And a little bit of spice added back in. And they finally are having those kind of team fight victories, which are all important for that one big word, and that's psychology.
Just please stop, okay? Hold up. You're going to make my brain explode.
Come on, man.
There's psychology a second time, Toby, all right? I need you to calm down. I know you're smarter than me, but you don't have to flex it that hard, all right? Beautiful job from Fury 1. I mean, really perfect from the initial, from the start to the ending. And Toti, such a good job holding down Monument pretty much by himself until Fury 1 was able to reinforce him to naturally lock in the domination. Wonderful ending and maybe new life from Fury 1. Let's see if they can tie up the first half. They're going to have to do so by once again winning the sniper like they did in round number 2 with Aimboot leading the charge.
Jaled actually rolling in, getting down straight away. Aimboot trying to save the day. Instantly laser down by Dezonide. Great shots from PK there. Excellent. Now they just need to clean up the remaining bodies in front of them. Toti will fall. Snipe, of course, picked up by Identivez. The perfect man to be picking up that weapon at this moment in time, of course, for the PK roster. 5 seconds on the clock until the triple cap is through. Ventry cannot even reach it in time on his side. Completely cornered on that side of the map. PK respond very well indeed.
Going back to your point, Toby, I said I was going to bring it up after the series. I want to bring it up now that the score is 3-1. Obviously, Fury 1 wins round 2 or round 3 because of that sniper, and that was because of an aggressive start. You mentioned that aggression this time around. They go back to aggression, send Aimboot and Jaled to get onto the sniper like they did so successfully in round 3. Pittsburgh Knights back away. They see it coming. They capitalize.
Yeah, that they do. And of course, there's a new variable thrown in the mix now as we go into the second half. The E hill is up top, so you not only get map control, but you also get that center hill objective. Much more important to consider perhaps than the B hill when considering your opening strat there. Incense, of course, on both sides. PK waiting for a moment, then they will dive into cave. Look at that for an incense. Almost thrown in at the perfect time. It's not going to connect in the way he was looking. Meanwhile, though, Identivez does get the snipe. But he and the rest of the team just need to stay alive for now. Pause so Identivez can start using that and getting to work.
Fury 1 characteristically are pushing forward aggressively to lock in a domination. And why not? I mean, they had such a great start, but they got one more, or now 2 more loose ends they have to tie up as Identivez gets back into the fight, but now he's all by his lonesome until his teammates maybe join off of the respawn, which they do. Aimboot desperately trying to win and secure this 1v3, but it won't happen. So we will have a bit more of round 5 to be played, and Identivez still has 4 more shots remaining in the chamber for his sniper.
He can just keep the aim up right now on this E-hill to keep their lancers down in front. Very much like snipe on clock tower to keep the heads down off host spot. Let's see. Oh my, Fury 1 immediately getting into the shotgun battles though to kind of counter that. Identivez hasn't had much of an opportunity to use that snipe. 2v1 situation. Should be joining Dezo any second, and I hopefully he does, yeah, sooner rather than later. Perhaps not quick enough indeed, as Dezo will lose out in that shotgun battle. Switching up to Aimboot. That will be pinched himself. Identivez still has that snipe, but I don't want him to lose it. If he can run early, finally taking Jaled.
I think he's about to make a crazy play. I just feel it. He already picked up 1. Sniper's out. you can see with the way he's moving, he's just purely confident.
Shifty, isn't he?
He is. I mean, he knows he can win this. And this is the thing. He's not been put in his place. Now off this off angle, Toti's down. Not as crazy or miraculous as a play as I thought it was going to be, but still a play nonetheless from Identivez. And you even complimented, like, you know, that movement is shifty. Best way to put it. Oh! Yo, Identivez, calm down, baby. It's only the first series of Split 4.
That was a good little check, wasn't it? Essentially a pop shot there across training grounds to get that down. Very important one of that too, but lining up for more headshots here with one shot remaining. Score-wise, he is. But the issue right now for PK is the scoreline. 40 seconds for Fury 1 to win off just a single hill, and with a huge score differential, Identivez needs to try and keep hold of the shot for his, say that, he doesn't need to anymore. Raver will get that new snipe very quickly indeed. But they need to move. They're not drop shots, they're still snipes. You have to force people out of cover and shoot them in the face to really get some great utility out of them in this current situation. They have to go now, Taylor.
Raver does have an instant as well. Let's see what he ends up doing with that, as he does in fact get up there. That's going to be great. This is going to be a break. The win condition could very well shift over, and man, Fury 1, they collapse. Pittsburgh Knights, despite them not having the lead heading into that triple cap domination, didn't matter. They end up doing it in style. Toby, you're even taken aback.
Yeah, I that instant didn't connect with anyone, did it? Right?
But it blocked the stairs.
It blocked the stairs, but then two players instantly just dropped like that. I mean, I understand that the triple cap scenario is being threatened, but two players to die to walking into the same flame like that seems a little bit disjointed to me, a little bit concerning. I mean, why is that occurring? I understand the stairs is blocked, but perhaps kind of play for damage for a little bit. Play your time before you just run through and risk your life when you're weak like that. Yeah, that caught me by surprise when I saw that on the kill feed. Nonetheless, I mean, good intent. Clearly, yeah. they got value out of that for BK.
It really did. And they were really just seconds away from losing as well. Just, 10 seconds away. So potential final round, Pittsburgh Knights looking at 3-0, Fury 1. They'll be able to do so. Fearzly, he wants to make a move up ahead on Aimboot, but take time, get the sniper. Still, can he get away? That's the question. He cannot. Aimboot will take him down. Luckily, I think the sniper was back, and yes, it was. So Aimboot, all he has is Nasher to work with, which really all he needs. Great start.
Good shots as well. You saw him lining up his body there with that pillar to make sure Dezo cannot get those last Lancer shots, and to get that down for potential re-entry perhaps into that fight there for PK. 4-1 the score, of course, so Fury 1 do need 4 rounds in a row, essentially, to keep themselves in this match. But a much better initial from Fury 1. Love that, a little bit more aggression. That flare coming out from Aimboot. As PK were doing so well in those initials in the last 2 rounds and really getting some great use out of that snipe. Let's see if PK can do just as well on the fight up top now as they come back off spawn.
Aimboot, once again, the tip of the spear, ready to go with Fearzly, which, here they come. That's going to be now 1v3. He's seen this once before on Ephyra. He sees it again now here on TG, and, well, PK is going to make quick work of him, but not so much of Jaled, right? Jaled picks up 1. That's going to be Fearzly. Meat shield's not enough, however. He will fall. Toti is going to make a move, doubling back with Ventry. An opportunity maybe to push onto Identivez is here. Come on, just hit a couple of more shots. He can't. Identivez will get away, but the key point here is Fury 1. They do have the lead, but Pittsburgh Knights have the map control plus the win condition.
Yeah, Fury 1. Not much of a lead this time, though, unlike the last round. There is time for them to get back into this, that's for sure. Identivez at the helm. No power up into his name right now, but he does have right hand. And he is certainly playing extremely well in this match.
Fury 1 push through. Yes, they will. Toti, they'll be leading the charge. Identivez will back away. He'll be joined by his teammate just off to his right. I believe that's going to be Fearzly or Raver, but it'll be Fearzly just up close with him. Aimboot once again, feeling confident with Toti. A little bit of a bait and switch. Fearzly backing up. Identivez now has to hold his ground. Or maybe try to get the pickup. He can't. So Fearzly's gone. Identivez, though, he'll push through. He'll get 1. He'll get 2. Can he get the 3rd? Jaled up ahead. Identivez has been cracked out of his mind, and he will pick up the 3rd. And Pittsburgh Knights will also pick up round 5 and 3-0 Fury 1.
That is absolutely exquisite gameplay there from Identivez. That turnaround up top was absolutely perfectly executed there. You couldn't script it. That was absolutely picture perfect from Identivez coming out with his shotgun in the end. It was a 1v2 situation. It was clear cut, right? There was a big gap. He didn't have that kind of surprise factor, but what he did have is that ability to turn around very, very quickly indeed and catch off the players by surprise, and then winning that shotgun fight in the end. I have to touch upon that, Taylor. Truly stunning gameplay from Identivez there from yet again. And then yet again, another map. And a deserved series for PK, especially for Identivez there at the helm. It was really impressive performance, actually, considering Fury 1's aggression and some great moments there at times.
Oh, a huge. I mean, absolutely massive. Mind you, I didn't say it at the beginning, but Pittsburgh Knights have always been a great training grounds team. That's a map they're very confident on because I've seen them pull off strats that I don't see any other team, kind of pull out. Now, did we see anything crazy here? No, we didn't, but Pittsburgh Knights didn't need anything crazy. They were consistently the better team, whether it be the initials or just longevity-wise. But Identivez from map 1 to map 2 to map 3 stole the show for me. Was he the biggest stat leader? No, he really wasn't, honestly. But did he have the most impactful kills time in and time again? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's the clutch-up moments, really, for me, isn't it? I mean, there were some very close moments from pretty much map number 1 and map number 2, right? And Identivez was going off. It was the first half, of course, on map number 1 of Regency, where Identivez was going off with the Ember, kind of setting the tone, if you will, for the two teams to kind of operate around going forward and mold themselves around. And Identivez there, even in training grounds towards the end, it's just going the same way as he started in the series, with some great snipe play. This is fantastic. Look at this. Turning around. He was even holding right hand. Toti knew he was trying to keep his distance and hold cover, but even then he couldn't stop him. Aimboot getting taken down there in the end, and look at this confidence from Identivez. Essentially reaction shot. Yeah, it was pretty much a reaction shot, perfectly executed from Identivez there at the end. Very similar character orientation to the back A we saw on Ephyra. Identivez just put on a show, essentially, as to how to perform these advanced mechanics in Gears of War to the highest level against some of the best players in the series. In the series, definitely.
Incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. And, Identivez, I'll sing his praise all day, but great performance from Fearzly. Map number 3, map 2, Ephyra. I think Dezo was one of the stat leaders. Damage done anyways. Everybody had their chance to shine from Pittsburgh Knights, but clearly, Identivez, he's feeling confident. He's feeling comfortable. I've had a chance to talk to him offline, Toby, and really kind of ask him what he thinks about going back to Pittsburgh Knights. He feels so comfortable playing alongside that of Dezo. He feels confident because he could talk gears with Dezo all day, every day. And Dezo understands him, and you can really see that accentuated in how confident he's making these pushes and how well he's playing. I think for the longest time, Identivez didn't have that winning spirit, if you will. He still performed well. He still made clutch plays. Statistically, he was fine. He was one of the most impactful players on Rebel, but he didn't have that winning drive. But now I think he has that winning drive, especially with this being the final split. He's already the king, but he wants 2 crowns.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it's Identivez' time to shine for sure. This is kind of perhaps going to put a pep in his step, going forward, and have that energy, that motivation to really commit to performing as best he can as an individual, right? Putting those extra hours, into practice to make sure that he's a bit more vocal when a power up comes up. Like, I want that. I'm going to put myself forward, and he's going to, put as much effort as he can into every single moment in the game. And from the consistency that we saw from him as an individual and Rebel, going into the performance today that we just witnessed, it's looking very good for him as an individual. And as a result, I think the PK team are looking very strong and very happy with the roster change thus far.
That's right. Pittsburgh Knights looking incredible. Fury 1 also looking very strong, but clearly some loose ends they need to tie up. Regardless, though, I expect them to be a tremendous threat throughout Split 4. Well, 1 series down. It was an exciting one. We've got 2 more to go, and coming up next is going to be a lot of fun. Kasane Papel will play against Rebel Monkeys now on this Rebel roster. I can't wait to get this one started, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait alongside you guys. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Kasane Papel versus Rebel coming up.